How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here. Wrestling Observer Radio, April 17, 2018. Figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. We got a lot of news to get into here today, not the least of which the Superstar Shakeup. Lots of names switching back and forth. In fact, 19 wrestlers.
I think it might be 20.
Maybe 20.
Let me see.
Well, Chad Gable was announced online, so...
There's more. Mojo Rawley was announced online. Zack Ryder was announced online.
Yep. All right, here's the list. Here's the full list.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
20.
20.
All right, here's the list. Jinder Mahal.
Yes. So
I guess Sunil Singh is being added as well. So
that makes 21.
I count as a guy.
I didn't count him. I probably should have. And the other one, is going to be with him too. So that's another one. Samir. Yeah. Well, essentially what it was they just switched the undercards. I mean, they basically took the whole SmackDown undercard, moved them to Raw. So I'm guessing they're going to take pretty much the Raw undercard and move them to SmackDown with a few sort of top guys. It looks like, no Roman Reigns switch, no AJ Styles, no Randy Orton, no Nakamura, probably. Well, I guess if it was, they would have done it tonight. So yeah, no Nakamura, but a lot of, I guess that the top. I mean, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, I guess, are pretty big stars. So I think you'll get some of that, and probably on the other side. Guys like maybe Finn Balor could go. Obviously they announced The Miz, Rollins. I mean, if Jeff Hardy doesn't go, then Seth Rollins pretty much has to, unless they switch the Intercontinental title, because the U.S. champion seems to be on Raw, unless they move Jeff Hardy right away. And if he is, then the Intercontinental champion has to be on the other brand as the U.S. champion. So they may have done that. They may do that switch, and that's Seth Rollins. So that's someone to look out for.
Well, here's the whole list. Jinder Mahal, the Riot Squad.
Well, let's go through. So yeah, so Jinder. It's just switch. I don't know. I mean, I'm not like I don't know that Jinder's that big of a thing either way. They'll probably push him a little bit, but it's going to be tough. I mean, his programs usually aren't going to be very good, so I don't know. That's really a positive. The Riot Squad, yeah. I mean, it just means that between the Riot Squad and Natalya coming, that means probably 4 of the Raw women would probably have to go to the other side. Who they may be, I could see Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville easily, and a couple of others.
Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, we talked about. They've been hired, not exactly drafted. You can't draft them if they've been fired, but Stephanie McMahon hired them, which makes no sense since Kevin Owens tried to kill her father last year. And she roundly chastised him and told him to leave the building. But now they've been hired. They're on Raw.
Well, they are talent. I think that Sami Zayn was way better off on SmackDown. I just have this feeling that there's going to be very limited how high he could go. In SmackDown, he was pretty close to the main event position, and kind of hurts because I think there were more good people for him on that side. Kevin Owens will be fine either way. He'll be a top guy. And Sammy will probably be doing okay with Kevin. I'm just wondering if they're going to make them a tag team or keep them singles.
Got Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley.
Yeah.
I guess they're not friends anymore.
Doesn't matter. I mean, Zack Ryder, Mojo Rawley, what does it matter, right? I mean, Zack Ryder's just, they're not going to do anything with him. Mojo, they could do something with Mojo. They weren't doing anything with Mojo. The Raw roster's generally deeper, so it's probably going to be more of a hindrance to him than a help.
Got Breezango.
Yeah, that's another one. I mean, with them, it doesn't really matter one way or the other.
Natalya?
So with Natalya, obviously, this one is for Ronda Rousey. And what it looks like is they're going to pair them up, and then probably Natalya, I'm going to guess, will turn on her because they talked about how they're training partners, and Natalya and Ronda are really good friends. For a couple of years, before they were even talking about doing pro wrestling, Natalya and Charlotte and Nikki Bella all used to, when they were in Southern California, they would go and train with Ronda and Shayna Baszler and all that. And the idea was that they would learn legit moves, legit submission moves from that style to implement in pro wrestling. And in return, the women would teach them little basics of pro wrestling so they could fool around and have fun doing their pro wrestling. This is long before Ronda ever thought about doing pro wrestling past the gimmick match, which she was always going to do. And Shayna, I think, always wanted to get into pro wrestling. That was always going to be her next step. So that was kind of the situation there. So they're all friends. So that stuff that they said on television was pretty much legit. And the other thing is that because of that friendship, I think that if Ronda has to do a program with somebody and do regular matches, Natalya's probably a really good first program to do it with because they're comfortable with each other. They know how to work with each other. I mean, they've worked enough with each other that, Natalya probably has a better read on Ronda's wrestling, her strengths and her weaknesses of almost any woman on the roster. So I think that, and it was pretty clear, it was made pretty clear from the start. I think that's the whole deal with Natalya going over. So in that sense, that's a positive for her. Because you work a program with Rousey, that's a big thing, and obviously protecting Ronda Rousey is one of the main things that they're going to be doing over the next year.
We have Ziggler and Drew McIntyre who are together.
Yeah, I don't really like Drew McIntyre being with Ziggler. I think it mid-cards him, but maybe it's just temporary and everything, and maybe the idea is that Ziggler's got some credibility, and it gives. But I think that McIntyre should have some credibility coming off of his NXT run. So if they're a tag team, they'll probably be a good team. So that's not a bad thing. But I would hope that the association is short-lived because I think that McIntyre's got like everything that they want. He's got the size, he's got the body, he's got the look, he can talk, he can work. He's every. It's just weird. Like, the thing I never can figure out is, and he's younger than Corbin, and it's like, what's the deal with, Vince loves Baron Corbin and doesn't, he did love McIntyre originally, and then he soured on him years and years ago. But it's like, when you put McIntyre and Corbin together, one's like boring, but it seems like Corbin's the one who they're really high on as far as being like a big main event singles guy. That's Corbin being moved over, is to become a top guy. And I didn't sense that putting McIntyre with Ziggler is an immediate top guy spot.
We have the Ascension.
Yeah, another tag team. So, I guess that just means that the underneath Raw, the Raw tag teams are going to have to go over, to the other side. So it's a non thing.
Got Mike Kanellis.
Yeah, Baron Corbin, who we talked about. He's there for a big push. At least that's the theory. Mike Kanellis, Mike Kanellis is in a holding pattern until Maria comes back, and even when she does come back, there's only so much that they're going to do with him. I think that's pretty clear.
Got Bobby Roode and Chad Gable.
Yeah. Well, Bobby Roode's okay. Bobby Roode debuted in a good spot. The one thing I'll say with Bobby Roode and with McIntyre and Natalya, of the ones that they announced on television, is that most of them, for whatever this means, in the script of the show, they listed all their names. But they didn't list McIntyre, I don't think. They may have, but I don't think I saw that. I know that they did not list Bobby Roode and they did not list Natalya. They were supposed to be surprises. So usually when they have surprises, they for whatever reason, they value them more. So there was, like, they kept Bobby Roode until the last position on the show, essentially, with the idea that he was the big move. So that tells me that their belief is that he's the biggest star to move. So that's a good spot for him to be in. Chad Gable, like Mike Kanellis, like Mojo, like Zach, like The Ascension, did not even get on television. They moved on the internet, and that's pretty much tells you what they think of him, which is too bad for Gable because, I think that because SmackDown has the smaller roster, that obviously Gable coming over means that the Gable Benjamin tag team's broken up, and they were a really good team. You could make the argument that Gable would be better off as a single. He's really talented, but I don't know that they. The fact that they didn't even announce him on television, I don't think that's a good sign at all for him. I think he would be better off. I think he would be better off on SmackDown. And then obviously Miz going to SmackDown, going to feud with Daniel Bryan. So it puts Daniel Bryan in a position. It is a program. It is a feud. But it takes Daniel Bryan down several notches before he even starts. So I don't know if that's a good thing. It's a good thing for Miz. I mean, it's an easy program. They mirror each other's moves and everything like that. But, yeah, I don't know. It makes Daniel Bryan not all that special, and he had a lot of momentum coming in. I think his momentum is dissipating quickly, unfortunately.
Well, let's look at the show from top to bottom. This was the first night of the Superstar Shakeup. More tomorrow, obviously, as we talked about. Opened up with Kurt Angle coming out, and fans chanted Rusev Day immediately. Jinder Mahal debuted instead.
Yeah, it's too bad because Rusev actually probably would have done... we actually should talk about the Rusev thing because of the Jericho thing. So, all it was is they changed their mind again. I guess it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but Rusev should be a babyface. Like, Jericho can be a heel now. It doesn't matter. He can be around for months. They may cheer. He's a star. They'll probably cheer him. Jericho can do the job for Undertaker. It doesn't hurt him at all because he's going to be around. Continually beating Rusev now that he's hot is just so counterproductive. Putting him in a position with Undertaker where he's a heel when he theoretically just turned babyface. I mean, they're seriously doing... I never thought that they could botch a turn to the level of Alberto Del Rio's first turn, but I think that they're coming close.
I don't know if you can even consider him having officially turned. I mean, he's going up against The Undertaker.
I know, but...
Sounds like he's a heel to me. Sounds like he's a heel that everyone cheers and they don't care. They're going to book him the way they want him, just like with Roman Reigns going the other way.
Well, he was a babyface the last couple of weeks there on SmackDown, the last 2 weeks. But, the worst thing is if he just had stayed heel, then it'd be fine because they could still turn him. But they've already turned him, and now he's going to wrestle Undertaker, but it doesn't count because it's in Saudi Arabia or something or whatever. That it's like, that's what they did with Alberto, if you remember. Alberto turned... Then he was a heel, but it didn't count on Christmas. Then he turned after on this Christmas show. He was a heel. Then he went back, and he didn't get over at all as a face. And then it was just, then he just languished in mediocrity. And and he wasn't as hot as Rusev is, but I think that there's, I don't know, the Rusev thing. I mean, it's definitely a momentum thing that they didn't catch on to, and I don't want to say they never will, because they may. I mean, it depends on how much legs it has. Like, if the fans keep it going before they quit, and if they do and then they finally get around to it, who knows? But, boy, are they slow on the draw. So, I had really hoped, like, he would have been a good guy to move to Raw as a babyface. That would have been a good move, rather than so many of these guys like Mojo and stuff that just... what does it matter? I know, that Raw's going to have so many guys. I mean, I guess like those guys like Carl Anderson and Gallows will probably switch, which would probably be okay. And it's just but it's like an undercard switch. I wonder what everything leads me to believe Dallas and Axel will switch too, but they didn't portray it like that.
So anyway, Jinder was upset that he wasn't getting a limo service and everything that Brock Lesnar was getting. And Kurt told him to email his demands, but he wasn't serious and told him, you must defend your title right here, right now. And who should be his challenger but Jeff Hardy? So what we had here was a guy who transformed his physique in what some people would say was a questionable manner, got rewarded with a WWE title, and here on the show lost the U.S. title to a guy who just got busted for a DWI. This match was incredible. So Jeff made a comeback.
In what way? I just thought it was like a match. It was just like a...
What I just said. The way that Jinder got the title and then Jeff Hardy getting the title here in his first match back since a DWI.
Well, they clearly didn't care about his DWI.
Clearly. That's my point.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree. If it was anybody else with one DWI, I wouldn't really care, but it was Jeff Hardy with his track record and the fact that they really didn't care. They brought him right back and yeah, I'm really surprised that I'm just surprised because it's just they're usually a lot what's the word I'm looking for? When someone has an issue, they're usually a lot more on top of it. Then obviously in the old days they weren't on top of it at all, and now they're a lot more. But this one, for whatever reason, maybe Jeff just talked him into the idea that it was some fluke thing. But man, when you get 2 strikes on you and you're convicted, in that thing. I mean, it's just like I don't know about the Jeff. I mean, as far as like if he's on the roster winning the title, that's fine. But I just think that they should have given him. I don't know. They should have taken more care. But I mean that's a decision that was made weeks ago.
Crowd super hot for the match. Jeff made a comeback. So Neil tried to interfere, got bumped off the apron. They traded near falls. Everyone's chanting for Hardy. Jinder tried to kill him with a boot to the face, and Jeff finally hit the twist of fate. Went up top, senton, won the match, won the title. And as far as Jinder Mahal matches go, this was not bad. So.
No. As far
Jeff
as
Hardy here
on the Jinder Mahal scale, this match wasn't bad at all. But it's a nice way to get him going on the new roster. But it's Jinder. I mean, he gets a lot of heat. He'll do okay. But it's whatever. I mean, he's he was going to be pushed on the other roster as well. So it doesn't he's going to be.
He immediately went backstage, and they announced he's going to be getting his rematch in 2 weeks at the Greatest Royal Rumble, so he'll probably just win it back, and this was something just to get the show going, and I don't know.
Well, if he's going to win it back, then Seth pretty much has to go then, right?
Well, I mean, Jeff's here. I mean, I guess they could move Jeff to the other show, but...
They could. And I almost think that they may just
Maybe we'll know tomorrow.
Well, we will know tomorrow, but I think that the thing is that with Matt like clearly going in one way and Jeff in the other, it almost makes me feel that they're going to split him on different shows. And if Jeff is on SmackDown, I could see Jeff being really one of the top guys on SmackDown with less of a block than on Raw. But then again, if Rollins and all those guys go to SmackDown, then it's kind of the same situation, I suppose. But I could see, I could see Jeff getting a good push. And the guy, for better or for worse, I mean, Jeff Hardy is a star in people's eyes. The people love him. He's got a lot of charisma. He's certainly a good enough wrestler. So, him getting a push, he deserves a push.
We had the Jinder segment, and he's busy ranting when No Way Jose's music hits, and out he comes with his rosebuds or dancing. Tells Jinder to wipe whatever the look is on his face. He says, when life tries to get you down, you just say, no way. And he dances off with Renee. So I guess the story is that, No Way Jose is at the show dancing backstage, and he never even had a match. He just shows up to dance with his Rosebuds.
But he's gonna feud with Jinder, and
what a feud that's gonna be.
Maybe that was John Jones's connection. But maybe that'll be his excuse. That Jinder gave him a pill that he thought was like for growing hair or something. And it turned out it was frickin', what was it, Drostanolone or whatever it was.
I'll step away from this one.
Yeah.
We had Bayley and Sasha. So for those keeping track, they had issues. Then they had a wild locker room brawl. Then last week, Bayley was there to watch her back. Now they're having a match. And the claim on commentary was Bayley came out last week to steal Sasha's spotlight.
Is that what it was?
I don't remember that. I watched it. Didn't come across like that to me, but that's what they said.
I thought that she came out to save her and then walked off on her.
Yep. Bayley literally cannot catch a break. First thing that happens is she botches a springboard, falls down. Match is just there. I mean, all of the build, all of those months, they just had a match. And Sasha finally got her in the bank statement, was about to get the win when the Riot Squad debuted, beat up both of them, and laid them out. And for some reason, they've given Liv Morgan the George the Animal Steel green tongue gimmick. Explain that one to me.
I cannot begin to explain that. I wouldn't even attempt to make any kind of an explanation. Why you would ever do that is beyond me. Why would you? Is there a good reason? I couldn't come up with. It's ridiculous.
I can't think of a good one.
Maybe she could be George the Animal Steel's daughter.
Could be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We had the Authors of Pain versus Slater and Rhino. They have, in fact, dumped Paul Ellering. There was a post-show video last week where they got rid of him. And this was not in any way a competitive match, but they did give Rhino a short comeback. But then they killed Slater and Rhino, threw Slater over the top. He took a bad landing on the ground, and they hit their finish on Rhino for the pin. A fine showcase match for the Authors of Pain.
Yeah, they did fine. God, there's a lot of teams here. Sheamus and Cesaro may have to be going, huh?
They may be.
Yeah, because there's so many teams. And, I mean, I think Gallows and Anderson is almost a lot.
SmackDown has lost teams. They don't have Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable anymore. They don't have... not that Ascension was doing much, but...
Yeah, I know. But why would you break them up?
I don't know.
And they lost Breeze and Fandango.
That's right. So there's got to be a lot of teams going over there.
Yeah.
Miz out for Miz TV.
Maybe Slater and Rhino.
Could be. His guests
that would be big news.
Were Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And Cole said, how can they be drafted when they're unemployed? And Byron and Corey noted they're free agents. They can just be signed. So, sure enough, Kurt came out and said that Kevin and Sami had their opportunity last week, but they both lost. Kevin said, yeah, but we got an email. Perhaps you didn't see it. And the email was from Stephanie McMahon, saying that Kurt had been overruled. It would be foolish to let them go after their performance last week, and they have been signed to Raw. And Kurt says, well, that's cool, so congratulations to you guys, but say goodbye to The Miz. Daniel Bryan was adamant about getting Miz on SmackDown, and he still wields some power over there. So,
yeah. So Stephanie never consults Kurt on her moves.
No, of course not. That's been the storyline from day one.
God.
So Miz cut a promo about how they're all going to go to SmackDown, make it the most must-watch show in all of WWE. And Kurt says, no, they are not going with you. You are going alone. They are staying here. Which sounds like they're not going to SmackDown.
I know it sounded like they're not going to SmackDown, but the thing is if you take those two guys away from The Miz, like, why would you do that?
Well, it's a good question. But it sounds like that's what they're doing.
I know, but they're not like they've as sidekicks. They at least have a role. I mean, they got a role. You take The Miz away from them, and they're nothing. So it's like sometimes like this isn't. I again, we'll see if they send them, but I don't think. And I know it acted. They certainly gave you the impression they're not going to send them. But to me, this is like when they broke up Rusev and Lana. It's like sometimes they'll, or remember when they broke up Alberto Del Rio and Ricardo? It's like you break people up just to break them up, even though you got no idea what to do, and the breakup is a clear negative because, like with Ricardo Rodriguez, when you took him away from Alberto, it's like there's nothing for him. There's nothing for the guy. And with Lana and Rusev, I mean, look at Lana.
There was something for him. He was RVD's.
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
I know, it was horrible.
It was just a disaster. But look at Lana went from being one of the a really good personality, one of the a good talker, the whole bit, to just a real bad wrestler that nobody even cares about anymore. She was super over, and in her own way. And Rusev floundered too. I mean, he's gotten out of the floundering a little bit, but he's still, But, I mean, Miz won't flounder because Miz is going to work with Daniel Bryan, so that's going to be great for Miz. But if anything, Miz should have that help against Daniel Bryan because the worst thing they could do in a Miz-Daniel Bryan program is to go back and forth. You know what I mean? If they went back and forth with those guys interfering and Bryan having to overcome the odds and Bryan having to get people to keep them from interfering and all that, at least you can do that program. But Bryan and the Miz 1 versus 1, all that does is take Bryan down a notch. So we'll see. But I don't. If they're going to break them up because they want to do something with, say, Curtis Axel, and I know they don't, and then they put Curtis Axel against the Miz and they feud them. It's an attempt to do something. It will not work, but it's an attempt. But this is breaking them up with nothing of the sort happening. It doesn't look like they're just doing it to do it, and I don't sense this is a good move at all.
So Kurt mentioned 10-man tag tonight, concluding a superstar who was going to be making his debut. Miz was very sad. So we had a Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy versus The Revival, Sheamus and Cesaro on commentary. And heat on Matt for a while. Bray got the hot tag. Combo twist of fate for the pin. And Cole spent the entire match bearing the Woken storyline, which makes no sense because Bray and Matt are more over right now than either of them have been in forever. And all of that was because Bray got thrown in a lake. So I don't know what they're complaining about. Bray is so much more interesting as a babyface to me right now. He ain't that interesting, but it's way better than when he was a heel cutting those promos every week. It's a big improvement.
I think it's an improvement. I don't know how big yet, but he's I don't know.
Well, I don't dread his segment, so that's a big improvement to me.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that it's kind of whacked out, but it's better than whacked out is better than tuned out. And I used to tune out with Bray stuff for a long time. It's just, that character, the nature of that story, that character is that he had to go babyface at some point. And this is the point. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with them. But I don't know, whatever.
We had Sheamus and Cesaro backstage. Fashion police showed up. And they threatened to lock them up for wearing dresses and having bad hair. So Cesaro and Sheamus irrationally angry about this. Led to a match later.
They tore up their tickets.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, you can't.
No,
I don't think did anyone tell them that? What happens when you tear up your tickets? They you get in worse trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, they need a better lawyer.
Well, they got in worse trouble. They lost to him tonight.
No, they lost. Yeah, I know.
We had Kurt meeting with Ronda backstage, and he introduced her to the newest acquisition, Natty. And Ronda's so happy to see her, and Ronda says they train together, and Natty's being a baby face, and she says, "I'm here to prove I'm the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be." Crowd actually gasped for a moment, and then Natty says, "Well, maybe second best. She's turning here soon."
Well, wouldn't you think so?
Yes. That's all I thought on this show. I couldn't figure out why she was a babyface, and then I figured it out.
Well, no, she has to be a babyface to set up the turn because she has to turn on Ronda. That makes perfect. This makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense unless you've been watching Smackdown, and she's been a heel every single week for like a year now, and then she just shows up as a babyface on Raw. Yeah,
they probably should do something. Well, this is what it was. It's like that's what they did. She's a babyface because she's Ronda's friend.
We had Ember Moon, Mickie James, Nia and Alexa were supposed to be on commentary together, but Nia shows up on the screen later and says, I wasn't told that Nia would be there. I'm not sitting there. Alexa, yeah.
Yeah.
I will not be sitting there with that bully. Nia knows how much it hurt me to lose the title, and like all bullies, she's going to rub it in my face. So I refuse to give that bully the satisfaction. So, Nikki worked her over for a while. Ember made a big comeback. Hit the greatest eclipse you've ever seen on Mickie James for the finish. Yeah, Mickie took this awesome flip bump. It was so great.
The finish was great, but the match was nothing.
But
the finish
there.
Yeah, the finish was really strong. So it looks like no Charlotte and Alexa's switch. Because if Charlotte was going to switch, she'd switch on this show. So looks like she's staying on SmackDown after all. And if she is, then Alexa's probably not going to switch back either. So looks like they're going to keep because it certainly gave the impression they're going to keep the Alexa Nia Jax thing going.
We had Kevin and Sami backstage, and Miz showed up and says, what's Shane McMahon like these days? And Sami says, he's the worst. And Miz says, well, I know he treated you. How's he going to treat me? Sami says, we need to focus on our 10-man tonight. And Miz finds the Miztourage just kind of sitting around, tells him to mourn tomorrow and focus today. Remember what is important. It is my Raw finale. We need to make it a must-see. And they all give him the foreshadowing face for later in the evening. We had the debut of Dolph Ziggler. So, came to the ring, said he steals the show everywhere he goes. Still the best superstar to ever walk that aisle. Ever! Did you know that? The best ever.
He says it all the time. That's one of the things I always say. Like, when you say that, you better be as good as Ric Flair. Or Shawn Michaels.
He's
or
not.
Bret Hart or somebody at that caliber. AJ. When you say it and he's good. But when you know what I mean? It's like, it just doesn't work. It makes you just kind of like go away. And if he, nobody ever misses him when he goes away.
No,
unfortunately. I mean, he's a talented guy too, but it's just, I don't know what it is. I think that the whole last year and a half is just killed him dead.
So Titus Worldwide tries to recruit him. They haven't been watching SmackDown, and he reveals that he has not come back alone. And Drew McIntyre hits the ring. Two of them destroy Titus Worldwide. Crowd goes totally nuts for McIntyre. Their finish is a combo zigzag Claymore kick, which actually is an awesome finish.
Yeah.
And they left together. You go.
They actually could be an awesome tag team. So I guess I don't know. I see that McIntyre is a guy with so much more, upside than Ziggler right now. But perhaps.
Well, here's the thing with this show. 20 people debuted. You have this main event with like 5 big baby faces on one side. I mean, obviously, probably some of them are going to switch, but the point of it is, there were so many people debuting over the last couple of weeks that, like, Bobby Lashley is out there and he's just a dude.
I know.
So the point is, I don't want Ziggler to drag down Drew McIntyre, but if you can make him a great team, and they can have some great tag team matches, and they can win the tag team titles, and you can do that for a while, and then you do the big split and Drew McIntyre goes solo when you've got some stuff for him, fine. I'd prefer that to him being in the main event and being just a guy like Bobby Lashley.
Yeah. I think that they could be, if Sheamus and Cesaro go, then these are the guys who would be in that spot, and it is different. So I guess maybe it'll help Ziggler. But yeah, if it's a temporary thing. But I don't know.
I don't question your skepticism.
Yeah.
Roman out in a tank top this week, no flak jacket.
Did you notice how much smaller Roman got? He
was way smaller.
Yeah, so I don't know this, but my impression, he hasn't wrestled since WrestleMania. So, he didn't wrestle on this show either. I would suspect he'll have to wrestle in South Africa, but I have a feeling that this guy just took a beating. He's probably hurting real bad because I don't think that there's any way he's been doing any weight training the last couple of weeks because he got. It's noticeable. People. I had a dozen people bring it up to me, since the show. And, yeah, I mean, he must have just could take it. And I can believe it. I mean, that guy took because think about like some of those falls he took from the suplexes. If you like nail your shoulder and you can't lift, that's when you start getting small. So, yeah, no one said that to me, but boy, he looks like he must have just taken a beating in that WrestleMania match.
Says, once again, I'm here. Brock is not. I'm going to face him again. He says it will not go down like WrestleMania because this time we're going to be in a cage. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, I mean, the thing is...
He got beat clean in the middle with no interference. Why, as a fan, should I believe it's going to be any different in a cage? Sounds like it's going to be worse for you.
Yeah, why? It's like if they were going to bring it back in a cage, like, shouldn't they have done a finish to set up a cage match?
Well, you'd sure think so.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you're, like, booking on the... You know what I mean? You just change your booking at the last minute. But, yeah, it's like, I was thinking the same thing. It's like, he's talking about how it's going to be different in the cage. It's like, you lost clean. Nobody interfered. If it was a cage, it would have been the exact same match.
So Joe comes out, cuts another promo, noting that Brock has beaten Roman not once, not twice, but every single time he's been in the ring with him.
He cut Brock's promo for him. He did better. He did like he should be Brock's mouthpiece.
Says, I should feel sorry for you for losing over and over and over and never learning anything from it. When Brock is done massacring you, I'll be waiting at Backlash to put the big dog to sleep once and for all. It was an awesome promo. Had footage of Brock practically killing him the last few times they've wrestled. Roman says, well, yeah, that's what Brock has done, but why don't you come down here and we'll see what your lazy fat ass can do. And Joe started to head down, but then changed his mind and left.
He said he would see him at Backlash.
Great. I can't wait for that. I cannot wait for that.
Hey, they'll have a good match.
They sure will. And hopefully we'll get more Joe promos for the next month.
Well, we will, because it's going to be one of the main events on the show.
Excellent. Mandy Rose, Natalya. Natalya won quickly with a sharpshooter. Sonya at the ring afterwards. They double-teamed Natty. Ronda marched to the ring to make the save. The heels fled. And then Mandy said, Sonya, get in the ring. So Sonya gets in the ring. Ronda kicked her ass and left her for dead. It was not the smoothest thing you've ever seen, but it's Ronda and Sonya Deville. I don't know what they were expecting. And that was that. Fans still cheered her. So...
They didn't cheer as much as... It was nothing compared to WrestleMania.
Well, no. She needs a Stephanie McMahon to get that kind of reaction. Sonya Deville is not it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Sonya didn't... I don't think Sonya really knew how to... I don't know. It didn't... It didn't look good, but...
No, Ronda punched her right in the face immediately, and Sonya just stood there. And then Ronda threw a bunch of quick shots, and then... did basically a legit STO, killed her.
A quick trip, and
that was it.
Yeah.
And then, Ronda and Natty were looking at each other, and that was when it was just like, Natty's going to turn on her, soon. This may be her first feud.
That's fine. It's probably the best person to have her first feud with.
It is.
If they do a singles, I would really like them to go a little while as a team before they do the turn, so it means something. But who knows? They may not do that.
I figure Ronda's just going to save her for 3 straight weeks, and then Natty's going to turn on her and smash her. However much they let her smash her.
Yeah.
Baron Corbin's coming to Raw. They had a Fashion Police, Sheamus and Cesaro match where Cesaro is killing Tyler Breeze. Pop-up uppercut, beating on him. Goes to make the tag, but Fandango yanks Sheamus off the apron. Tyler then rolls up Cesaro and pins him. So they won in their debut. Presumably, I guess Sheamus and Cesaro win the titles and then feud with the Fashion Police. I don't know. It's kind of a weird title feud.
Or go to the other side.
Yeah, could go to the other side. Yeah, beat him on the way out. There you go.
And then have Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt as champions feuding with Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre.
It's fine with me. Elias did a promo. Says, I don't play in low-rent venues like this anymore. Bobby Lashley ever tries to interfere in one of my performances again, he's going to find out why WWE stands for Walk with Elias. Says, I'm not going to play for these people, but I'm going to play for you, Renee. And she says, "We don't have time for this right now." And he starts playing anyway. She sends it to the announcers, and the crowd boos Renee.
Is that what it was?
That's what happened. They wanted to hear him perform, and they took it out on her. It was bizarre. Main event. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and The Miztourage against Braun, Seth, Lashley, Finn, and the debuting Bobby Roode. This match was good, but it kind of...
I thought it was just okay. I actually thought, like, for a 10-man tag, I kept waiting. I guess the last 2 or 3 minutes were good.
Well, the problem was they had Braun Strowman on the babyface team, and he was the only guy the fans wanted to see, so every time a babyface got a hot tag, they didn't care about it because it wasn't Braun.
Well, the other thing, too, is I thought for Braun's character, for him to be out there cheerleading, tag me, come on, tag me, it just felt like so anti what his whole character has been for the last couple of years. You know, he's now like your, cheerleading babyface in the corner.
Yeah, for now. So they're beating on Finn, and he goes to tag, and he tags Lashley, and the fans wanted Strowman, so, like, there's no reaction to Lashley tagging in.
Yep.
So, runs wild for a while, throws everybody around, delayed suplex on Sammy, throws Miz over the top. Go to commercial, they come back, and Owens is working on Seth. Same exact thing. Goes for the tag, the fans want Strowman, he tags Roode, nobody cares about Bobby Roode. Finally, Strowman gets a tag, goes after Miz, everybody hits a big move, the usual finish of a 6-man or 10-man or whatever. And finally came down to Miz and Strowman again. Miz hits his drop kicks in the corner. Braun then drop kicks him. Very ugly drop kick, but fans loved it.
It doesn't matter. Strowman can do bad drop kicks when they're good.
Yes. Miz went to tag the Miztourage, and they dropped off the apron and walked out on him. And he turned around. Braun power slammed him, got the pin, and that's how the show went off the air. So, Smackdown, probably a good 15 wrestlers going to the other side. And...
yeah. If not more, yeah.
That's right. No NXT call-ups.
Drew McIntyre.
I guess Drew McIntyre. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and Authors of Pain last week, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there might be a few, Sanity. Sanity and Velveteen Dream are the names that I've been hearing that might come up. Sanity's supposed to come up. Velveteen Dream, may not. I think there's I don't know. It would be okay if he did. I think that he's probably better off with about 6 more months in NXT, just because the thing with him is his character is really good, but he's only going to get better. And if he's a little, like, I've seen him in some good matches. Obviously, the Aleister Black match was really good. But I've also seen him in some matches where it's like, if it's not a squash match where he just wins quick and it's a back and forth, you can still see he's not quite ready, and I'd rather he got a little bit more ready before going to the main roster. So, but whatever they do, I think he's got the chance to be a star either way. So, and I don't know, if Andrade and Zelina Vega come up, that's a star act. And I think that SmackDown's probably a better place for them to start than Raw anyway. But we'll see what happens tomorrow.
John Cena and Nikki Bella have split up.
Yep. Oh, you want me to say something about it?
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say about it. Both of them are claiming that the other broke up. So it's just people trying to be sympathetic.
Both of them claim the other one broke up.
Yes. So I don't know.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, because one of them's telling the truth and one of them isn't, right?
There's been stories that they had problems with their wedding planning.
I'm sure.
I guess they'd appeared on some shows over the last couple of months talking about issues they'd had.
Such as?
The wedding, one of them was like the wedding planning, and then Cena's talking about how, I'm always on the road. Sometimes we don't see each other for months at a time. It can be very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've announced they're no longer together, so.
They're supposed to get married in like 3 weeks. May 5th. They were supposed to get married Cinco de Mayo in Mexico. And, you know, life takes you in different directions. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know who's, whatever, you know.
No John Cena tonight.
No John Cena tonight. No mention of it on the show.
Nope.
I would say that, you know what's weird about that breakup? Because the new season of Total Divas was supposed to climax with the wedding, which means that they have to rewrite the season, and essentially they're going to have to be doing a storyline breakup to mirror their real life breakup, which is kind of weird in a lot of ways. So they're going to have a scripted version. They're going to be acting in a role, doing a scripted version of their breakup.
Well, maybe they filmed all the breakup stuff, and that's just how the season's going to end.
Yeah, but they have to film a scripted version. They're not going to do the real version.
Why?
Because whatever the real version is, I'm sure they don't want the real reasons out there. So they're going to do cover reasons. I mean, Total Divas is a scripted show.
Sure, but I mean, if they've been having issues for a few months that they've been talking about publicly, I'm sure they've got a lot of that on tape already. You know, whatever degree it is.
I don't think that they're taping them while they're fighting and things like that. What they're taping is what they're assigned to say and do. It's completely different.
I know, but we're talking a reality show here where, I mean, every single episode of Total Divas I ever watched, Natty and Tyson are in a fight. Rusev and Lana are in a fight. I'm sure there was some drama that they probably created about John Cena and Nikki Bella in a fight right before they're about to get married. So they could just go with that.
That's what my whole point. Yeah.
But they don't have to film new stuff. They could just use what they already have. And then the season ends with everyone going, "Oh my God, did you see what they had in Us Weekly today? They're not getting married."
Well, no. The whole thing
off the air.
Though I'm sure that the timing of all this, you know, having to do with the you know, again, this is the film. The season was supposed to end filming on May the 5th with the wedding. So first week of May. So they've got the point I'm making is let's say they broke up this last week. Okay. They have several weeks worth of filming that they're going to do to be breaking up for the show, mirroring their breakup. Do you see what I'm saying?
If they do that. I'm saying they don't necessarily need to do that, but...
Well, yes, they do, because they have to change the whole script of the season.
Okay. We'll see what happens. I mean, they have so much footage that they will never use. They have like thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. Like, I'm sure they could stop filming today and do like 15 more episodes if they needed to.
But they have to do the breakup.
All right. We'll see what they end up doing for this season.
I mean, they could do the fight, but the fight's not the breakup. There has to be a breakup scene. I mean, they have to have the breakup on the air.
All right.
And it won't be the real breakup, although people will think it is. So, you know, that's the point I'm making is they have to go out there now and act, or if they've already done it over the weekend or whatever. But the point is they have to act out their breakup and come up with reasons for their breakup for a story as they're breaking up, which is a very awkward thing to do.
Let's talk about this UFC on Fox rating. Not great.
Nah, not great. Well, I mean, the final rating. By the way, I think the Bellator rating was like a disaster for Friday night show with which wasn't a bad show either. The number I saw was 242,000 somewhere. That can't be right. That's so horrible. But
242,000 on.
I mean, it's never been under 40. I think 418 is the lowest. So if that number's right, that's beyond scary. But the UFC number, you know, the thing is it will the overnight number wasn't good. But the overnight number measures till 10, and the main event started exactly at 10. So that means not just none of the West Coast, but also the main event, which was the big draw on the show and the highest rated portion of the show, almost, you know, 100%, as close to 100% for sure as possible, isn't figured in. So it will rise. I think I predicted like 2.2 million, and it feels like it'll be a little bit below that. Maybe not much though, but you know, they were going against NBA and NHL playoffs, so it was pretty decent competition. But you know, it was a good card. But you know, it's UFC's cold. I mean, there's no doubt they're cold. Other than, you know, if Conor McGregor fights Khabib, they'll be hot as hell for that. And do you hear Conor McGregor supposedly has said that he will fight. He wants Khabib so bad he will fight him for peanuts. I don't believe that, but that's what he's saying. Yeah,
sure.
He really wants that fight. Yeah, everyone wants to fight Khabib.
Solid gold peanuts.
Yeah. You know what's funny is like before everybody was running from Khabib, and after the Ali Quinta fight, now everyone's saying what a lousy fighter he is, and it's like, good luck. You know, although, you know, I mean, the thing with him is if he gets the takedown, he's usually pretty much of a killer, although he wasn't as much of a killer in the Ali Quinta fight as he has been in previous fights. But standing up, he's absolutely vulnerable standing up. I mean, if he has a fight with Conor and he can't take Conor down, he'll for sure lose against anyone, Ferguson, any of those guys. But I mean, that's what we would have said with anyone. That's, you know, with Michael Johnson or Edson Barboza. I actually outstruck Edson Barboza because Edson Barboza was just, after the first beating Edson Barboza took, he was just like, get me out of this thing. This thing's terrible. He looks so and if he does that to Conor, you know, he does that thing to Conor, I wonder, you know, Conor's going to go in there with his $100 million in the bank and go, what the fuck am I doing here? So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Conor's completely out of his mind anyway, so I wouldn't even worry about, like, you know, there's no rational thought for him, obviously. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, actually, and he was telling me that he just thought this was the worst of UFC ever, the idea that they would allow him to fight again. Is like, he just said, like, I can't support them. I cannot support these guys allowing that guy to fight. You know, it's like they've done a lot of bad things, but this is the worst thing they've ever done, is just do that 180 in one day. It's like, you know, it's like the next day Dana says, well, we talked it out. It's like, you know, and I can't disagree. It's like the idea that Conor's not being punished at all, it's horrid. It's just horrid. It's horrid for the sport. Makes the sport look so bad. Conor made the sport look so bad anyway, you know, with those antics. It just, you know, I don't know. Just, it's a bad look, but he brings the money. And boy, if there's ever like proof of the fact that if you can bring, well, I mean, Floyd's the same way. If Floyd was a mediocre fighter, they wouldn't even let him fight on television with all of his problems. But, you know, everyone looks the other way when you draw that kind of money.
Mailbag at WrestlingObserver.com.
I would say something real quick. So, this week, I mentioned it earlier, but Yota Tsuji and Uemaro, I think is the other guy. But Yota Tsuji, I saw his. I didn't see his first match, but his second match was on Saturday, and it was against Ren Narita. It was the opener of the Korakuen Hall show. Holy shit. That match was so good. He's got some size, and he's got timing, and he can sell, and this guy's going to be something, but good God, they got to teach him how to, I mean, I would never want to work with this guy. He's freaking brutal. I mean, it's like, at least Kitamura, like, would kill you, but safely kill you. This guy's not even safely killing you. I mean, he does everything well, but he hits way too hard, and that's not a good thing. But the rest of his game is like freaking great. I mean, I could just see like Ren Narita's face going like, "What the fuck? This isn't a fight." But once he learns how to like not kill you, if he does, and hopefully he does, because for a second match, you know, and I probably should watch his first match just so I could say I saw his first match, but. Jesus Christ, that guy, he's so advanced in every aspect of his game except hitting in the face, in which case it looks real because it's way too real.
Alrighty. This person here says, how involved is beIN Sports expected to be with the production of the new Major League Wrestling show?
I don't know that they are all that. I don't know. I got the impression it's just that Major League Wrestling is presenting them with a product. Yeah, that show debuts Friday night at 8. So we'll see what it looks like. I'll probably get a copy of the tape before Friday, hopefully.
This person here says, do you think WWE will run network specials for 205 Live in the future, similar to how they do for NXT with takeovers?
I mean, it's a possibility, but it's a possibility. I haven't heard anything in that direction. It's a weekly TV show. I mean, it's not. It's not. I mean, I suppose you could probably do it, but NXT does it to piggyback off of the pay-per-views. So the idea of you got to add like a Friday in those markets for 205 Live, that's probably not going to draw. Especially now when, like, the idea of the 4 shows sounded really good when they went to Brooklyn and the first time and they sold them all out. But now it's been a struggle everywhere. I mean, they didn't even sell out Smackdown and Hall of Fame in WrestleMania week. So the idea of going some market like, any market, even Chicago, and adding a Friday night show to the 4. I think that's too much. I don't think the show would draw at all. So, I don't know. It wouldn't be high on my priority list, at least right now.
This person here says, I heard a rumor that Pedro Morales beat Ken Patera for the Intercontinental Championship on December 8, 1980 at Madison Square Garden. But it was not televised. It was preempted on the MSG channel by coverage of John Lennon's murder. Do you know if this is true? Do you know more about this title change?
I do not recall. I remember where I was when John Lennon was murdered, for sure. So I don't know the answer to that. I'm trying to think, did I see Morales beating Patera? I have this feeling I saw that match. But we may have seen it on like a 1-day delay or something. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly. I may have seen it. Maybe I saw it on a videotape and it wasn't broadcast in our market. I just don't really remember that. I don't remember it that. I don't remember like what I did, or whatever. I don't know. It just doesn't all ring a bell to me.
This person here says, I was reading that various Japanese wrestlers, including Minoru Suzuki, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Great Sasuke, Tiger Mask 4, have all competed in Sasuke tournaments, the obstacle course featured on the Ninja Warrior TV shows. Was this something the wrestlers did on their own, or was it publicity for their respective wrestling companies? And were the companies ever nervous about injuries?
They don't worry so much about injuries in Japan to their top talent for whatever reason. The wrestlers are on all kinds of game shows and all kinds of talk shows and all kinds of things like that, like way more there than here. So, they're always doing stuff like that, physical game show stuff where they could get hurt. Yeah, it's not uncommon. I mean, I've seen it with the women wrestlers. I've seen it with the guy wrestlers. Sometimes it's dangerous, semi-dangerous. I mean, not super dangerous, but semi-dangerous stuff. Sometimes it's harmless comedy. It's meant to be comedy in most cases. But yeah, the wrestlers, like the fighters, are celebrities over there.
This person here says, I looked into tickets for the upcoming NXT in Chicago. The ticket prices were $300 for ringside. Is this a normal price range for NXT? And is this just a house show or a takeover event?
Chicago, the Chicago show's the takeover. And I guess that's the price for ringside for the takeovers. So all ticket prices are real high these days because there's enough people willing to pay. I mean, there's 80 ringside first row tickets, and if there's 80 people willing to spend $300, then that's the price. And what happened was StubHub and the secondary market showed them that they were underpricing their premium seats. So now they've upped the prices greatly. There's some concern that they have too many expensive seats, but the reality is they're still selling. They're still selling those seats. When they stop selling those seats, then the price is too high, and then they'll adjust accordingly, or they'll have empty seats, one or the other.
This person here says, when Vince McMahon purchased Georgia Championship Wrestling in 1984, took over the time slot on TBS, he effectively shut out the NWA from their presence on national TV for almost a year.
Well, not really, because they got that early morning time. They got that early morning show like a week or two later because of all the protests from the fans that didn't want to see WWF wrestling on the station. But they did have a monopoly on good time slots because that show was like at 7:30 in the morning or some hideous time slot.
Well, he says, how important was this advantage in those early years of Vince going national? Would the NWA have had a better chance of competing if they hadn't been shut out of cable for that year?
Absolutely. It was huge. It was a very key year, and they got behind. It was a 1 year period, and before Turner basically told Vince that he's going to be off the station because he violated the contract, and then Vince, through Barnett, made the deal with Crockett, and Crockett bought it, and Turner said he was going to go with Watts. Then when Crockett got the station, he was happy that it was Crockett, and he didn't do the deal with Watts, which changed the face of wrestling as well. Yeah, a lot of stuff happened then, but yeah, that was a real key year, and Vince had close to a monopoly on national time slots because he had USA and he had TBS at the same time, and nobody else had anything of that value. Mid-South had TBS for 6-7 weeks, very little time, but did great ratings with it. But Watts's company, without Turner's money, could not compete. He just couldn't. He tried, but you just couldn't compete with both Crockett and Vince having television because they had bigger cities, better markets. They were out there first. They had the key guys. I mean, Watts didn't have Dusty. Watts didn't have Ric Flair. Watts didn't have the Road Warriors. Those were the key guys Crockett had. Vince had Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage and Roddy Piper and Andre the Giant. So it's like, as good as Duggan and DiBiase were, you just weren't going to be able to, he wasn't going to be able to compete, better booking or not. I mean, Watts and Paulie both had the same fatal flaw, which is that they both were really, really smart, super smart, okay? But because they were super smart and they knew they were super smart and they knew that they had a better eye for talent, they knew that they were better bookers than the other guys, they didn't realize that it didn't matter because they couldn't compete. Just by having the better product in the ring and having the better booking without the exposure and without the star power, it didn't matter. They had a low ceiling that they could hit, and with bigger companies with better exposure, even if they were crappy, we're still going to outdo them in business because that's just how it was. Better production values and everything like that. So that's what happened there. But I thought that it was Vince got in. Vince for that was a very pivotal year, and Vince had a head start, and Crockett was playing catch up, and he caught up in some markets. He almost caught up. In his home markets, he was stronger. But in most, you go to L.A. or San Francisco or something like that, he was too far behind, and and that was really the case in most of the country. He was too far behind, and Vince won, and he had to sell.
This person here says, is Dave aware of the UK TV situation with TNA possibly being canceled? It is not airing.
Okay, so here's the situation. They're not canceled, but they're negotiating a new deal. They expect that the new deal will be, they expect that all will be well, and they're just trying to finalize the deal right now. So they're not canceled, but there is something going on. They're trying to work on it and get it done, as quick as possible to not miss shows on whatever it is, Spike 5. So it's a negotiation period going right now.
All right, everybody. On that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. I believe it's looking like we're going to be back on Tuesday and not Wednesday this week, so we can recap the Superstar Showcase on Smackdown. So you can look forward to that tomorrow. The new Observer is going to be out on Wednesday, however, and the new back issue is up right now. We got a lot of great shows, a lot of good stuff, so check it out. And that is it. We will talk to you again after a while.